Hello, it's Tamara Hunter, and today is number 107 of 365 Days of Awesome. Celebrate Success Through Service. And I have our service hero with me. And, normally I would say he's in Florida because that's where he normally resides. But right now he's on a tour of the East Coast. And so I will let him share with you what neck of the woods he's residing at this moment. But I want to tell you a little bit about Jeff Steinberg. I met him, actually, I met him in California, and then I got to know him in Florida. And to know this man is to know a living miracle. He is one of the most fun, funny, and inspirational people I've ever met. And by the time we're done with this show, you'll agree with me. This is a man. Well, I'm going to let you tell what his tagline is because he's got an amazing tagline. But welcome, Jeff. I am so thrilled that you're with me.
Thank you, Tamara. And has anybody told you today that you're a masterpiece in progress?
Thank you. I was hoping that I would qualify to be. I love that line of yours. I just love it. One thing, I'm going to start with some images because I think to see the images is to appreciate even that much more about who you are. I'm going to go here first because you are an entertainer that has been entertaining for, would you say, decades?
46 years.
46 years.
The end of October, it'll be 46 years.
And you started back in the day when, I'm going to let you tell about your history. And I'm going to go here. I'm going to start there. I know that's a little.
You know who that is?
Pardon?
You know who that is?
Who is that?
That's Willie Stargell.
Wow.
Ball player.
And yes, and then I saw that you had another athlete here that you.
That's Curly Neal from the Harlem Globetrotters.
Yes, I recognized him. I did. Okay, so let's talk.
Okay.
Obviously, you're a little shorter than the ball player, and you are signing with your mouth. Why is it that you're doing that, Jeff? Not everybody knows your story.
Well, I'm unique. I was born with what most folks would call handicaps. I have no arms, malformed legs. The doctors didn't think I was going to live. And my grandmother was the very first family member to see me. And when she got a hold of my dad, who worked for the Postal Service in Philadelphia at the time, he came and saw me and immediately decided that not to tell my mom because they didn't think I was going to make it anyway. And the problem was that I did. I kept living, and she started to wonder, well, what is so terrible that that they're not telling me? And after a while, my grandmother finally told my mother when I was about almost 17 months old. And my mother didn't see me for the first time until I was nearly 2 years old. I have no arms. I have malformed legs. I wear a prosthetic arm. This one is myoelectric, but my very first one I got from Shriners Hospital in Philadelphia. And the very first one was nothing more than a stump socket with a spoon on it. My mom picked me up. She held me in her arms. She paced the floor with me in her arms, back and forth, back and forth. And then she placed me back where she found me, swung around, and looked at my father, stood as tall as her 4'8" frame would hold her, and said, "Irving, take me home. I'm ready to leave now." And it would be many years later before she and I would come face to face on the subject. And she would look me in the eye and she would tell me, "Jeffrey, I did not nurse you. I did not raise you. I didn't even know how to love you." Wow. Now that'll
And
make, that'll,
yeah,
you know, to have your mom tell you she doesn't know how to love you is probably the hardest thing to deal with, even for a toddler or for a young, for a child.
for
So,
anyone, for anyone.
when I was 2.5 years old, I was placed into the care of the Shriners Hospital for Crippled Children in Philadelphia. And there they started surgery to straighten my legs. They discovered there was no joint on my right knee. They broke the bones. They fused my leg back together stiff, cleaned away valuable growth tissue. And I'll always be 4 feet 6 inches tall. Michael Jordan, eat your heart out. I learned to do all kinds of things with my feet. I learned to write with my feet. Can you write with your feet, Tammy?
You know, well, I could do finger painting, toe painting with my feet.
I learned to, I used to suck my big toe. I even learned to feed myself with my feet.
It's incredible what you can do. When I have gotten to know you, and we had an opportunity to spend a few days together, and in it, you eat, you discuss, you're brainstorming, you're spending time with people. And the thing that not only I noticed, but everybody in our group noticed, is that you are probably one of the most resourceful people, and outgoing and upbeat and no nonsense. Like, I'm there, you're here, I'm here, let's get it done. There's no other way of being able to say than you're my peer. You're my peer. You were all of our peers. We all have different uniquenesses about us, but that we're all masterpieces in progress. And I actually read your book, and
Was it any good? I've been
I
thinking.
loved it. Actually,
I was
I
thinking.
actually loved it.
I was.
I, I
I thought about buying it and reading it, but
Yeah, no, you should. I'll recommend it all day long. Um, and when you talk about your mother, I thought you were very generous in the way that you explained. You went into the backstory, and so that there was an ability to feel what the pain it must have been, and all the different characters, if you will, all your family members, what they were going through. You made it very clear, what the society situation was, where the hospital was located, where, when it happened, the call that was made, just that whole interchange. Because someone could say, wow, you give up your child, how can you do that? Well, you were generous, I believe, very generous in letting us know that these people involved with the decision that was made, that was huge, were people were coming not necessarily from bad places in their lives. They were your parents were young, and the and deeply in love, it sounded like, and had the best of intentions, of course. And
they were coping as best they could, but they didn't
right,
know how to cope. There's no manual that says if you have a child that's born with mangled, malformed legs and no arms, do this. Otherwise,
right,
do this. And therein lies the problem. My father thought he was doing the right thing by protecting my mom. What he didn't realize was you never protect anybody by running away from the situation, you know,
right,
and or by keeping them from having to cope with the situation.
right.
And so years and years later, my mom and I would have to start over again. And by this time, I'm an adult. Um, there was a lot of times when I would either go to visit them and they weren't home, or they would come to visit me. And, I didn't understand because I was a kid. Well, why can't I go home and be with you? That sort of thing. And my dad told me in 1981, when just before he died, he said, Jeffrey, if you're coming to Philadelphia, we need to talk. There's probably some things you'll want to know, answers to questions, why I did what I did, why I made the decisions that I made, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And she, unfortunately, I didn't make it in time enough to talk to him. And, because he had cancer. And so,
Right. We've talked about that. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's, I pulled in when he passed. And I could tell at the minute that he died, I said to my wife as I was parking in the parking space, I said, we're too late. He just died. And she looked at me funny and she says, how would you know that? And I said, because I just felt something brush against me. And when I walked into the hospital 5 minutes later or thereabouts, I asked of course, they were all standing in the hallway. And I said, when? And my sister said 5 minutes ago. And I knew exactly, it's one of those things where I have had to learn to cope, and I've learned how to rise above the circumstance. My message to people when I'm on stage and your that meeting that you and I met at in Florida,
right,
helped me to kind of crystallize some of the concepts that I had been mulling over in my head. One of the things that there were two things the speaker said. First of all, he said, Mark Twain once said that the two most important days of your life is first the day you were born, and next the day you find out why you were born.
Right.
And the second thing he said that stuck with me is the most successful person is not, or the greatest leader, if you please, is not the person with all the answers, but the person who knows what questions to ask. And what he didn't know at the time was that I had already started to put together material for a book / workshop / however you want to describe it, that asked the right questions. My message is based on these 5 questions, or at least my message that you're a masterpiece in progress surrounds these 5 questions. A, who am I? Mm-hmm. That's the first one. We all have a story to tell.
Right.
My story is the one we're telling now. I have no arms, malformed legs, and yet I have accomplished most all of the things that family, friends, and associates have told me through the years you cannot do, you should not do, you would not do. And yet I am a recording artist. I am a producer. I am a singer. I am a performer. I'm a clown.
You are a clown. A joyful, loving clown.
I'm a humorist. I'm an author. I'm a motivational speaker. Yeah. I'm a husband. I'm a father. I'm a grandfather. I'm incredibly talented, very, very cute, and mostly humble.
Yeah. And I love it in that order.
Just ask me and I'll tell you.
That's right. That's
but we
right.
all have a story to tell. And here's the problem. 90% of the people I run into don't like their story. They would rather their story be one of them riding in on a white horse and being the gallant hero and, we're going to rescue the world, or somebody's going to come and save me and I'm going to live happily ever after, doodah. And the fact of the matter is that what we don't understand is it is our story that gets us to where we are today and becoming who we are today.
Right.
And we have a choice. We have a choice with regards to our story. One, we can whine and complain and bemoan our circumstance. And how many of us do that? We look in the mirror and we say, God, you got it wrong. I'm not your guy. I don't have this. I'm missing that. I wish, and I don't have the affluence or the influence, and before long, the excuses just take over. Or we can take our circumstance, we can tie a lasso around it, and we can ride it all the way to success. We all have a story to tell.
Yes.
What are we do with it? You know, what are we going to do with our story? And that's the problem. So the first question is, who am I? I know, for example, that the day I left Good Shepherd, well, first of all, I know, for example, that when I was 11 years old, I met a wonderful, wonderful Christian couple who taught me the principle that I am fearfully and wonderfully made.
I love that when you say that. I mean, can you say that one more time?
I am fearfully and wonderfully made. God makes no mistakes, and God makes no junk.
Exactly.
And all of that aside, as soon as we get rid of all of that, the baggage that goes with our excuses, and realize that He made me exactly who I am. We've heard from preachers and from people, that we're created in the image of God, and everybody's got their idea of this. But the truth of the matter is, my idea isn't that I look like Him, because if I look like God, He's in trouble. If He looks like me, He's in trouble.
I don't agree, but that's okay. I'm partial.
and if I'm created to look like Him, my view of what God looks like goes back to these paintings with long, white, flowing, wavy hair and a long white beard that looks more like Bill Golden of the Oak Ridge Boys than he does anything, and it's like, no, I don't think you want to see me in a beard like that. Oh, by the way, forgive me for not shaving, but today's kind of a day off, and
that's okay. We'll talk about that in a few minutes. What's going on there? Yeah.
So, but my concept of being in the image of God is that He closed His eyes and He said, I'm going to make a lunatic, and I'm going to make him so unique and so special that he'll grab your attention, and he'll make you laugh, and then he'll make you think, and he's going to be different from everybody else. And when He opened His eyes, I was exactly as He imagined. Now all of a sudden I can accept that I am in His image because I am in His imagination. And all of a sudden I realize that who Jeff Steinberg is no longer about what I look like. And by the way, I do look different from many of your audience. I'm good looking.
I know you are. I mean, that picture right there says it all. You are very darn good looking.
Thank you. I'm already spoken for, Tammy.
I know, and I love her too. I love your wife, and so not a problem there.
Special, she is. So I learned when I was 11 years old that I am fearfully and wonderfully made, and I learned that I'm a masterpiece in progress.
Yes.
Now, what to do with it? And I would tell people all the time, I'm leaving this home for the handicapped. And I lived in a home for kids with disabilities from the time I was 9 years old in Allentown, Pennsylvania, Halloween Day, 1960.
Wow.
For 10 and a half years. And when I graduated from high school, I walked out of Good Shepherd. And that was the hardest thing to do.
I bet it was hard.
When I stopped at the threshold, and I looked, and this voice in my head said, you can still turn around, you can live here, it won't cost you anything, and you will be safe. Except I never played it safe for my entire life. And another voice on the other side said, you stick with me, Jeff, and we're going to go places and do things you never dreamed possible.
And you have absolutely done that. I want to share some pictures because you have had an amazing career.
That's my son.
Over so many decades. Now it started where you're a singer.
That was my trio in college. We were called the Total Victory Trio. And as you can tell by the math, there's more than three. Math was not our strong suit. But
I have to ask, was there a comedy element like there is now in your performances when you were back in the days of college with your group? Was there that?
I was always
Yeah, yeah, I can see
Three
that.
of us on the left of the picture. The tall guy standing in the back, the girl, and I were the singers. Her husband is the one next to her. He was the drummer, and the young man, the blonde, was our bass guitar player. And the guy in the back was our songwriter, and he was my tenor, and he was also a piano player. And
Oh,
we were called the Total Victory Trio. There weren't much victory. We weren't very total, and there were 5 of us in the group. What can I say?
that just sounds like fun. Okay, so then you actually did. You were on the back in the day with all of the telethons, and you were a performer also with the Pat Boone group, and
I was a performer on the National Easter Seal Telethon with Pat Boone.
there you go. Right.
Seal is an organization that encourages people with family members that have disabilities to rise above their disability and to face them, not to, run away or hide from them or do for them,
Right, right. But to allow them to become who they are going to be.
Exactly.
I love that. I love that. And okay, so over the years, you then you I have this picture of you and your wife. Beautiful picture. I love it. And then you have been going and performing, and recently you've been on a tour of the East Coast for the last so many weeks that
this is week 5 of an 8-week tour.
Week 5 of an 8-week tour, and actually your beautiful wife is coming to join you this weekend, so that's going to be very exciting. Yeah. And you are traveling. You travel with a companion that let's okay, I have to stop here. You also, if someone was to turn on an app, they're in a city, let's just say they're in Florida, and they are looking for a ride, and they turn on the app and they put, I'm looking for a driver, who might show up?
Well, I would, because I'm also an Uber driver. Yeah. I drive Uber, and that creates a whole different set of complications to people's lives. I had one guy that got in my car, and he saw my hook on the wheel, and he turns and he looks at me, and he's a businessman, mind you, and he said, "Were you born like that?" I said, "Without the hook." I said, that would really leave a mark. My mom would not be happy. And then I had some blondes that got in the back, and everything you've ever heard about blondes is true. They got in the back late one night, and they were more than slightly inebriated, and we're driving down the road, and I said, "I'll bet I'm the most unique Uber driver you'll ever ride with." And they're like, "Oh, no, we've had all kinds of weird drivers." And I said, "Yeah, but I bet you never had one that doesn't have any arms." What? I said, "Yep, nothing up my sleeves." I said, "Look, Ma, no hands." No way. No way. Wait. Well, how do you drive? I said, "Fast." Had a 5-year-old that wanted to know why I didn't have any hands. I told him I used to bite my fingernails, and one day I went too far. He's in trauma therapy now, but he's got perfectly manicured nails.
Oh my gosh! Oh,
when we go out to eat, I love to have fun with the waitresses, and there was like 15 of us at the table, and the waitress comes over and she stands right between me and my singer-songwriter friend Jeff Rudloff, the young man that you saw in that picture. Okay. He and I have been best friends and cohorts, and I've sung most of his materials for better part of 46 years. And she looks at me, and she looks at him, and she looks at me, and she looks at him, she looks at me, she looks at him, she looks at me, she turns to him, and she goes all the way around the table and comes back around, and she took everybody's order in turn, and finally it's my turn. There's nobody else left. She stands in exactly the same spot. She looks at me. She looks at him. She looks at me. She looks at him. She looks at me. She turns to him and she says, "And what would he like?" And he looked up at her and he said, "Well, why don't you ask him?" So she did, just like I was deaf and stupid.
Oh.
"And what would you like?" And I'm thinking, another waitress would be nice.
Do you get that a lot?
Yeah, on occasion, at banks and stuff like that. But so the rest of the story is I looked up at her, and being this shy, quiet, serious-minded, spiritually minded person that I am, I looked up at her and I said, "Steak."
You're horrible. You traumatized her too. She's in with that 5-year-old.
Yeah, and when
You're
she
gonna
was,
have a Jeff Steinberg wing somewhere, like for, yes, I was associated with him for a few minutes, and I need some recovery now.
when she was done wiping herself down, I said, "I'll give you an extra $10 tip if you can tell me what it is I do for a living." To which she responded, in front of God and everybody, she said, "I don't have a clue." To which my friend replied, "That's for sure." So I'm all set to tell her that I'm a singer and I'm an author and I'm a recording artist and I'm a programmer, when all of a sudden my best friend of more than 46 years reaches over, grabs a hold of my hook, rotates it till it points upward toward the ceiling, and announces to everyone in the restaurant, "He's a professional coat hanger." She replied, "Really?"
I love it. You know,
Yes,
you gotta have humor in life.
I said, "No, ma'am." I said, "I'm a brain surgeon and you're my next patient."
She's like, I think I'm off now.
Yeah, I think we got another waitress after that. I did have a bank. Did have a bank teller wanted to know, wanted fingerprints. Told her,
Okay.
she said, "I need a thumbprint." I held up my hook and said, "So do I."
Oh my gosh. Okay, let's talk about what you're doing on this road trip.
Okay.
You're out right now, sharing the love, aren't you? And here we've just been talking about the fact that you may have a whole group of people that lining up to get some therapy. However, you're actually going out to churches and to places of worship and
also,
sharing. Pardon?
and also businesses and corporations and motivational meetings and, anything where I can encourage people to see the masterpiece that they are designed to be.
Absolutely. And you do it in such a disarming way, just like you just did right now. And that's the thing that is your charm. The charm of you is that you have this amazing way of being able to tell your story. It is your life. It is your story. We all have them, but be able to do it in such a way that people are like, wow, okay, I'm getting it. I'm getting it. And then you're laughing with you, along with you. And then you get them crying. I've been there. I've been on the laughing, and then I've been on the crying, and then the laughing again. And by the time it's done, I know that for myself, I remember the experience. I remember the moment, because it was actually in California that this first happened, because you did this, and then you went into your song, and then you had the backdrop of the video that you had behind you, and it was the one that you were singing. It was actually more of a anthem. Yeah, it was a, like, proud to be an American kind of a thing, and I'm so there with you on that. And so I was, just by the time I'm going live, and I'm like, I don't even know if I'm catching him, because my eyes, my glasses are fogging up. I've got tears in there, and I'm trying to get you. And you were right there. You were singing. It was like you were singing to me. and all of us that were right in that circle. I was lucky enough to be at one of the first tables, and I remember the feeling of, oh my gosh, I am having a moment in time in my life that that is such a gift, because I know that if I ever felt sorry for myself, or if I ever felt like, okay, this is too big for me, it isn't. There is no such thing as too big for me. And I'm having this whole epiphany with the whole, then, the United States and America, and, and nothing's too big for us as a country. Nothing's too big for us as a community. And then I took it even bigger, in that nothing's too big for my cancer community in the world. Because you know what?
Your message is part of why it is I have developed my message around, is because you bring up point 2, and that is, what are my talents and my gifts, my abilities and my limitations.
Right.
We all have those things. We all have abilities and limitations. We prefer to make excuses because we don't want anybody to think we're bragging. But what we're really doing is we're really saying, okay, I'm not willing to admit, or I'm willing to deny. But if you deny your limitations, you deny your abilities. If you deny your abilities, you deny your limitations. It goes both ways. And so what I can tell you is that there are things I cannot do, and hence my assistant, the young man that travels with me for this 5-week tour, the things that my wife does for me. I have another gentleman who lives in Orlando who helps out. This young man that's with me on this tour, he takes care of not only the sound and the technical issues for the performance, but he also helps me with things like getting dressed, taking a bath, all the things nobody really wants to talk about. But I don't mind talking about it, because without somebody like him, I can't do what I can do.
Right.
It's possible. And the same thing with you and your message, and you and your ministry, if you can call it that, because Chemo Buddies is designed to encourage people who are hurting, and people who are discouraged, or people who are frustrated, or people who feel like quitting because they think that they don't have what it takes, or that they don't matter, or whatever, or that their life is over. Even when I talked to my mom about doing my book, one of the comments that she made was, Jeffrey, this is my story. It's nobody else's business. Until I said to her, but Mom, it's also my story. And your story can be an encouragement to a lot of parents of kids with disabilities who think that their life is over simply because their kid doesn't have any arms, or because their kid has some sort of physical disability or limitations.
Right.
So, and then you get to the third point. Why am I here? And that was actually asked of me when I was in a prison performing in Manchester, England, in the north part of England. And he was a prisoner. He looked exactly like the actor, the late Michael Clark Duncan, remember him from The Green Mile?
Yes.
Arms the size of tree trunks, and
yes, loved him. Yes.
His t-shirt sleeve wrapped around a pack of smokes, and he looked at me and he said, "Why are you here?" And I looked at him and I said, "I'm here to let you know that God knows you're here and that you're a masterpiece." He said, No. Why are you in this prison? Why are you in my prison? And I didn't have a long time to think. I looked at him and I said, "Sir," I said, "you see that window off to your left shoulder behind you with the bars on it?" Everybody turned and looked. And he said, "Yes." I said, "You see the razor wire on the other side wrapped around the barbed wire fence on the other side of the window with the bars on it?" He said, "Yes." I said, "In about an hour, I'm going to be on the other side of that fence, and you're still going to be here in a 12 by 12 cell. So I'm here to tell you that you can go back to your 12 by 12 cell. You can look in the mirror above the sink next to the toilet in your 12 by 12 cell, and you can see a masterpiece in progress, that you can see redemption, that you never have to look at the guy who got you into this mess again,
Right.
that you are somebody special. And that's my message to you. The question is, what are you going to do with it?
Right. Right.
Then we get to the fourth question.
Mm-hmm.
What are my limits? What are my boundaries? And let's make no mistake about it. My limitations are the things I cannot do.
Right.
My limits are the things I will not do. And how many times have we heard people who have said, I would give anything, I would do anything to get the promotion, to get the raise, to get the job, to get the, yada, 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 to get the gig. And the truth be told, there is an awful lot I will not do.
Mm-hmm.
We're hearing a lot about it today in the media. It is not worth the price to gain the success if you're having to sacrifice your own integrity.
So true.
And your own body.
That's right.
It's the limits that I establish, the boundaries that I establish, keep me from having to redo over again, or keep me from having to fix mistakes I made because I.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Just one moment, he'll be back. Okay.
Okay. Those are the people who, and then finally the last question. What kind of a mark will I leave behind for having been here? Now, 90% of us are thinking about end of life. What is somebody going to say about me when I'm gone? No. I'm talking about the mark you leave in people's lives as you go along. You, Tammy, have left a stamp, an indelible stamp on the lives of people who are going through chemo, who are hurting, who are frustrated, who are scared, and they don't know what to do, and they're lonely, and they're, and you've made a mark on countless people. Back to the guy at the prison.
Right.
5 years later, I went back. The guys were setting up. Hi, Tina. The guys were setting up the equipment. I walked over to the chaplain and I said, okay, whatever happened to, and I nodded in the direction of the seat where this guy sat. And she looked at me, she smiled, and she said, you don't know, do you? I said, what don't I know? She said, after you left, he went downstairs and hung out with the guys in the common room, many of the guys that were here in this chapel. And all he talked about was this little man with no arms that got in his face. She said, that evening he made a commitment to faith. She said, but that's not the best part of the story. And I'm looking at her like, okay, what is? She said he had 8 weeks left on his sentence. And during that entire 8 weeks, all he talked about, except for what he was required to as a prisoner, all he talked about was this little man with no arms that changed his life and his newfound faith. And then she said, but that's not the best part either. And I looked at her and I said, okay, Jillian, when do we get to the best part? She said 8 weeks when his sentence was up, he walked out of this prison. He went back to Nigeria and he became a pastor. What kind of a mark will you leave behind? I did a thing for a series of schools in Allentown, Pennsylvania, and in the Lehigh, Northampton, Pennsylvania counties in Pennsylvania. And I got a letter a couple of weeks later after some concerts in churches that night after the school assemblies. And this one lady said, "You don't know it, but you sang in my son's school." He was about 14 years old. What he didn't know when he was in school that day was that his father and I had a terrible fight. His father walked out on us. All day I wept, I cried, I considered suicide. I even took the gun from the gun cabinet in the hall. And as I was looking at the revolver, I heard the bus pull up with him. So I put the gun back in the cabinet. He came bounding in the house, told us all about this little man with no arms that made faces and made us laugh and sang to us and challenged us to see the masterpiece and told us we are fearfully and wonderfully made. Then he said, "Mommy's going to be in a concert in a church tonight in the area. Can we go?" And she said, "Mr. Steinberg, the last thing in the world I wanted was to go sit in a concert and look at somebody who should have been in worse condition than I am, because that would mess up my pity party." But he wouldn't let up. So he dragged me to the concert. And then he dragged me to the second row center aisle. And when you came out, you looked straight into me. And she said, "You never stopped." And she said, at the end of the evening, she said, "You said, if I can do what I do with what I've got, if God can use me, think what he can do through you if you'd let him." And she said, "I started to say, okay, God, maybe we can make it one more step, one day at a time, one step at a time." She said, "Mr. Steinberg, you saved my life. And you saved my son from losing his mom." She said, "Not everything is fixed." But she said, "At least I know I can keep going and that I'm a masterpiece in progress because of what you did. And my son knows that he's somebody special." We all have a way to leave a mark. And the problem is, it's too easy to make excuses. When we say I can't, what we're really saying is I won't.
True.
What we're really saying is I'm not going to make any kind of an effort, and I'm not going to. It ain't never going to happen. Today I'm married. My wife and I have 4 children. We have 9 wonderful grandchildren, and I'm 67 years old, and I will celebrate my 46th year on a stage. I've stood in coliseums and convention halls with tens of thousands of people, and I've stood in boardrooms with 10. I've sung on stages with people like Zig Ziglar, Pat Boone, Michael J. Fox, Ray Charles. I've been with, the list is endless. Rocky Bleier. I was on the phone with him the other day. Those of you who know football know who the name Rocky Bleier is, from the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now there's an overcomer story for you. But the point I'm trying to make is that each of us is a masterpiece, one color at a time, all that we were created to be. And we have a choice. We can either make excuses, or we can make tracks, and we can do something with it. And if your organization would like to have us, hint, hint, jeffsteinberg.net for any corporate motivational events. If your church is interested, tinygiant.com. Either one of those 2 will work. I'm not cheap, but I'm easy.
And you're awesome. I don't know. You came back. I don't know why we have the sound problem, but I want to just. Oh, good. We've got it taken care of. I want to go one more step with you, and that is, you mentioned that you're on this journey right now on your tour, and that you have someone that's with you. However, this person is not going to be able to stay with you much longer. And so you actually are looking for someone that might want to join with you on your adventures. I think that would be an amazing opportunity for the right person. It would need to be someone that would understand sound, and yet do they need to understand the sound?
They don't need to know how to do sound, but they have to have a head for tech.
Okay, so a tech sound, and then
Maybe an ear for music or whatever. But I'm also looking for someone who doesn't mind things like personal care and assisting me and looking out for me, because I've got to have somebody who can, because I don't walk like I used to. I walk, but I also have a power chair. And, for times when I'm in a large, hi, Melissa, when I'm in a large convention center or whatever. And so I need somebody who can assist me. Maybe they can, help back up a trailer or whatever and help set up. We can teach them almost anything they need to know if they've got a good head for it. You met Jay Johnson at that event that we were at in Florida.
Yes.
He has worked with me on occasion, and he has tech skills. He has mad skills. He's a great guy.
He's just got a heart of all, that's as big as all outdoor. He's just so caring and patient, and yet fun and smart. Yes. And so basically you're looking for someone. And when would this position be available? Should they be interested, and how can they get to know?
It comes and goes. They can contact me at Steinberg J at jeffsteinberg.net.
Okay.
Email they can get me at, or they can go to jeffsteinberg.net and get in touch with me, or on my Facebook, facebook.com, Jeff Steinberg Masterpiece in Progress. I believe that's what it is. I don't remember anymore. I'm getting old. But they can contact me through that. And right now, until we get it built up, it would probably be on a per show basis. So it would be somebody that maybe could come and go, or if it's somebody that lives near enough to Orlando where we could, and we would fly them in and out for churches and that sort of thing, would be someone who's familiar enough with those types of things that, situations where we would come in. The host generally provides for the fee or love offering or honorarium, plus lodging and meals while we're there as a part of their event. And then I pay on a per show basis. And we can talk about all of that technical stuff. If you're
right.
Give me a call at 901-754-5333. That's 901-754-5333. Or you can email me at Steinbergs, Steinbergs. That's more than one of us. Steinbergs at tinygiant.com. So tinygiant.com. So, and all of my music and all of my information and stuff is available on our websites, jeffsteinberg.net or tinygiant.com. If you're an agency, we have an agency-friendly website that allows people to go back to you. We have agency-friendly websites, which means that the contact information says contact the person who sent you to this website, okay? And that way the agency gets the commission and the credit. We do not want to take anything away from anybody, because it shows a lack of integrity to book something from somebody who maybe heard us through an agency-booked event. So try it the right way. So, but it's the most fun you can have. Lots of humor, lots of laughs, and I am really, really honored to be on your show.
Well, you're just you're a remarkable person in my world, and when we had a visit and we had a chance to really bond and have some moments, and I still remember what you shared, and I'm still going to take you up on that at some point in time. And so,
Tammy, when are we going to do something together?
We're going to do something. I'm working on it. I'm hoping this next year is going to happen, because there's so much momentum now that's starting to take place, and I can just see that we're going to do some rocking and rolling and do some good. I really want to thank you for who you are, because you are I brought you on as a service hero, and I usually say why it is that I pick someone as a service hero. And what I wanted to do with you is I wanted to do it towards the end, because I wanted people to be able to get a feel for who you are, because you're such a unique, wonderful human being. And the fact that you have made your life a mission is, to me, a gift to all of us. And you are an example of a true service hero in everything you do. The humor you share, your quirky stories that you just want to laugh out loud and, spill some milk all over the place. The tears that you bring that can actually wash away so much of the trials and the things that we're going through in life, and to realize, I'm not alone. Oh my gosh, this message is one that I'm not alone. I am worth. I am an amazing creation. I do have future. I have hope. I just need to get through this moment, and I can do that. I am now learning that. And you are sharing this in your every single day. And I just absolutely adore you for it. And I thank your wife for a sacrifice of time, that you go out on the road, you do what you do to share this wonderful message. And she's just an amazing human being. And I want to share something that I captured, and I wanted to share this towards the end too, because I think it's just so amazingly beautiful. Um, you
Ah,
know,
25.
yeah, you guys are just this amazing duo, that when you came to Los Angeles, and the two of you came in, that teamwork, that amazing electricity that you two share, an unconditional amount of love, and to later find out that she was going through her own stuff. It's not like when you go anywhere that you're immune from, you may have a message, but life happens, and you just never know what that life is going to be dishing, and yet the show goes on. And that was another example that the two of you shared and showed, even though you weren't vocal about it. I learned about it later, and it resonated in my mind, because we all have stuff. It's like you said, we all have stuff, and those 5 points are 5 questions that we all can ask ourselves. And in doing so, we can find out what our unique stories are, and how we are an amazing, amazing gift to this world, just like you are, Jeff.
Thank
You
you.
are.
Thank you.
And can I convince you to maybe at least hum a few bars of something? Because you have such an amazing voice, and I know this is maybe putting you on the spot, but I don't think that you're shy about many things.
Oh, you really think I'm not shy?
I don't think you have a shy bone in that body of yours.
He's still working on me. I may not look like it yet, but you better bet I'm becoming what he wants me to be. I'm a masterpiece in progress. Won't be too long till I'm done. A few more strokes of the brush and the master's touch, and I'll be in the image of the sun.
I love it. Okay, I got
Your
goosebumps.
audience is looking for someone to do fundraisers. I love raising funds, especially for causes like yours and others. You're looking for someone to motivate an audience or to encourage an audience, but they need to understand speakers don't motivate. All we can do is provide information and inspiration. You motivate you. Once you met me, once you heard me, once you got a hold of the information and the inspiration, then you decided, okay, I can do this. I can, and then you get up off the couch and you motivate. So, but we do all kinds of events, anything, and we can tailor our message to fit your situation and what you're looking for. So,
I
uh,
love it. I believe that I'm going to talk to those that are going to be watching this. I do this every once in a while, but in this case, I really believe that we need to share this segment and highlight when you're sharing, why you're sharing. And if you feel that Jeff's message and his way of presenting it would resonate with the group that you know, that you lead, that you will be joining, uh, or that you may be coming up with something yourself, like myself, you bet I have been thinking and I am working on something that he will be a part of, because you know there's no way I'm going to have an event that Jeff's not there. And I challenge you to get this message out there to others, because you know in providing opportunities like this for Jeff, what you're doing is you're providing an opportunity for all those people that come to your event to become a better person, to be able to tap into something that maybe they haven't tapped into because they haven't had a unique person like Jeff actually share with them so that it like hit them. And that's what life is all about. If we can just be sharing these moments and serving each other, we are going to make this world a better place. And I know that that's what all of our goals are. And so, Jeff, I want to thank you for being who you are. And I'm keeping this up here and so that they have a chance to go grab that piece of paper or actually go cut the tree down and you know and form that piece of paper, because you know I want them to get a hold of you because you have a message to share, and we're so lucky to have you as I believe just the treasure that you are. You are a masterpiece in progress, and I am so lucky to be one too. Thank you.
Thank you, Tamara. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. You are an awesome man, and I appreciate your time today. And thank you for being service hero number 107.
107. Lucky 7.
Lucky 7. 107 of 365 days of awesome. Celebrate success through service. Jeff Steinberg, thank you for your time. We are closing out our moments together, but that's only a temporary close. We are going to join again, and we're going to do some really cool stuff here in the near future. Okay?
Forward to it.
I am too. All right. I will be back tomorrow with others and with another person, and you'll want to stay tuned for that. Have a great Friday and go out there and serve another. And remember, I haven't said this for a little bit, but remember, a smile, and look at the smile that Jeff's been sharing today. A smile goes a long way. A quiet act of kindness is actually serving another, and I believe we all have a service hero inside of us.
What kind
Make
of
it a great day.
behind?
All right. Bye.
Bye-bye.